Hello, what is up, everybody? We got a nice 3-game slate now. Not sure if I should say nice, but just me right now. We got Bobby and DC dealing with some technical difficulties. So if they hop in, that'd be nice. Otherwise, you got me. I'll break down the NFL slate to start it off. That locks in 15 minutes. We got the Saints, got the Buccaneers. Going to be a good game. Just got done with the Chiefs pulling it out against the Cleveland Browns. So just me today in the chat. If you guys got questions, drop them in chat as well. It can be very interactive. I'll answer a bunch of stuff too, but gonna break down this this football game. So we got Latavius Murray out, we got Taysom Hill out. That just leaves Kamara as the clear standout play for me in this game, especially on DraftKings with full point PPR. I expect him to get pounded with targets. Drew Brees, I expect him to get some pressure, not be able to look downfield as much. I think Kamara has an absolute monster day. Yeah, even on FanDuel too. I think he's going to be he's my favorite MVP right now. It's close with Drew Brees. It's close with Tom Brady. I expect a lot of people just to go with one of the quarterbacks, but Kamara is my favorite. When we're talking in tournaments, well, we got to be different somewhere for the captain spot, MVP. I like Michael Thomas on FanDuel. I like him on DraftKings too, but I think he'll get a little more ownership. But a lot of short targets I expect. This Tampa Bay has been a funnel pass defense all year. Expect the pass rush to the Saints to bother, or I expect both passers will get there a little bit, but I expect the Bucs to pressure Brees, short passes to Kamara, to Thomas. Kamara is going to be about 3 times higher owned in the MVP spot than Michael Thomas is. So that's my favorite leverage play in tournaments. Antonio Brown is my favorite pass catcher on Tampa, I think. Mike Evans, I expect the big Lattimore to be shadowing Mike Evans. He's had problems. So in the past, Mike Evans has with him. DC, do you hear me? I'm just kind of rambling on about the game.
Yeah,
right now.
I do hear back here. Technical difficulties, my bad. I think I'm good to go. So hopefully the connection will hold up. Not sure exactly what was going on. Yeah.
Cool. Yep.
I'm with you. I heard you mention Kamara, Michael Thomas, obviously, the pass rush that the Bucs can bring, with Taysom Hill, with Latavius Murray out. I'm sure we'll see, maybe Ty Montgomery mix in there somewhere, but Kamara is a guy that gets there with sometimes 60 or 70% snap share. I would guess that's 80 plus at least tonight in this game. And then Thomas, a super weird season for him, right? There was like the conflict with Drew Brees to start the year with the social justice stuff. And then it was injured. And just, even when he's been out there, he looks just fine to me. He just isn't being targeted at the same rate, but I don't know. I could see that changing at any time, obviously at home here in a dome. I think targets could go a lot of other places, but I think it'll be spread out. It seems too easy almost, but Kamara, Thomas seems really like the 2 guys you kind of want to start your builds with to me.
Yeah, that's what I think. Kamara now in the playoffs, now without Latavius and Taysom Hill, not 100% of snaps, but I think even in the 90% load.
Agreed. Yep.
Like it's time to finally unleash this guy. He hasn't had any problems he's been good all year. He's been healthy this year too. I just think now's the time. It's a close game. They need to win. So, but it's a good call on Ty Montgomery. I was going to mention him. I think he's the best value on this 1-game slate, just because they can even run 2 running back sets with Kamara and Montgomery. Montgomery can catch the ball too, but I think Montgomery's going to play more the Latavius role, more of a hard-nosed downhill runner, just put your nose down. So I think he makes a lot of sense. He'll be popular too, though, for sure.
Yeah, the other guy from the Saints, I don't know if you mentioned him before I got on, Traequan Smith making his return. Was it IR? Did he go on IR? I'm not quite sure.
I think he was. I think he's coming back off.
Yeah, so it's unclear kind of what snapshot he'll see. Deontay Harris had the breakout game last time. Was kind of a fade for me coming into this week, even if Traequan was going to be back. Harris, I think he got 6 or 7 catches, only played like 28% of the snaps. If Traequan is healthy and ready to go, I would expect Harris to not be on the field, frankly, for very much time. You never know. Maybe they really liked what they saw last week, but indications are, at least to me, that kind of a fluky week for Harris. So I bet he'll be relatively popular, but not a guy I'm looking at. Traequan Smith at 400 on DraftKings, I think makes a lot more sense to me if you need that savings, which I kind of think you do. If you're getting in Kamara and Thomas and one of those two in your captain spots, you got to find somewhere to save, right?
Yeah, I see Steve Anthony in the chat as well. He said Traequan at captain fits in all the studs. I think that's going to be pretty popular too. I think so what do you think between Traequan Smith and Ty Montgomery? I think this is a big question on the slate. First question I have for you, do you think the ownership is going to be way lopsided on one guy to the other, or do you think they're kind of the same? And which one do you prefer? Because the prices both, I mean, they're both pretty much free on this slate and allow you to go with the stars and scrubs route, which I think people will do.
Yeah, I lean Traequan. For one, I think he has more upside, like especially if you're thinking about captaining him. Like he could score a long touchdown that makes him a viable captain. And then, if we're talking 80, 90+% snaps for Kamara, like, yes, they could go to two running backs, but I don't necessarily seeing them doing that here. Jared Cook, I think his snap percentage is going to rise with Taysom out. And then, like you mentioned, maybe Tymont offer, kind of providing the downhill running style, but that's not really his style anyway, right? He's almost just like a worse version of a much, much worse version of Alvin Kamara. So I kind of think Kamara is going to be out there for as many snaps as he can handle, which in a big playoff game, you would think would be close to all of them. So yeah, I definitely prefer Traequan Smith. I assume he'll be lower owned or higher owned rather, Traequan will, but I'm leaning that direction myself.
For me, it's so like, we just haven't seen Kamara go out there and play 90+% of snaps. If there's ever a game, there's going to be it. Today is for sure the one. Yeah. I'm just slightly a little worried with Sean Payton. They showed, Ty Montgomery in week 17 had over 100 yards on the ground. I think he's becoming, because he used to be on the Packers, used to watch him all the time. It looks like he's transitioning more into a downhill runner than what he used to be side to side. But yeah, he's definitely not a bruiser or any of that. But I'm still with you. I think Kamara is the top play because his floor is just so safe and his upside is immense.
Yeah, looks like we got Bobby in here. Bobby, you have thoughts on the Saints offense?
Yeah, just all the usage I think is going to go to Kamara. I could see Montgomery eating in, but I'm pretty bullish on Kamara. I like the play for Showdown. He's obviously going to be very chalky, but I think I'll eat that chalk. I think it's a good chalk.
Yeah. Title, did you talk about the Bucs side of the ball yet? We should probably jump over there since we only got 9 minutes before kick here.
Yeah, no, I didn't mention. I just mentioned how the Brady's obviously there. And then my favorite receiver for price is Antonio Brown, just because Matt Lattimore is going to be all over Mike Evans. Snap share just keeps going up. Antonio Brown's still the same Antonio Brown, talented freak of a player there is. Just buying on the talent, buying on the best receiver. Because he's not even being treated in the defense as the best receiver, which is helping him because defenses aren't focused on him. I think he's better just because he's playing with Godwin, playing with that. Brady's always looking for him. I think he makes the most sense.
That's who I'm on as well. Well, two guys. It's close between Antonio Brown and Godwin for me. I think, especially if you're playing the big field tournaments for Showdown, going down to Antonio Brown when you could have Godwin and leaving the $1,000 or whatever the difference in price is between the two, I think makes for a good strategic sense to, if you do hit the nuts, you'll have to share it with fewer people if you have Antonio Brown instead of Godwin and leave that money on the table. I've faded Mike Evans, on the 4-game slate, on today's 2-game slate, and then I'm going to fade him tonight rather on the Showdown slate. Just the Lattimore matchup's really tough for him. Lattimore's had a lot of success. It was a really good corner in general. And I also think, presumably the Bucs are going to try to get the ball out quickly against a pretty good Saints defense. I think Evans could have trouble, getting enough time to get down the field, especially against a good corner. So, I wouldn't be surprised if it's Evans who has the big game, but got to make a stand somewhere, and that's the one I'm going to do.
I will say though, I'm really curious about the ownership too, because I don't have a really strong gauge. I've been doing NBA stuff, watching the Chiefs game. So
I bet it'll be spread out is my guess.
So you don't think Mike Evans is going to be
tournament right now too? That's what I was wondering about the ownership as well.
Golf. Yeah. So you don't think Mike Evans is going to be significantly lower owned than Antonio Brown or Godwin because of the matchup? You think?
No, I don't. I bet it'll be fairly close between the three is my guess.
All right, then yeah, I'm with you on that. Because if Evans was going to be half the ownership of both of them, then I'm buying in on the talent just for the ownership alone. But
it's hard to guess ownership on these Showdown slates, right? I mean, you just don't really know for sure. But that's my assumption. Bobby, what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, for me, I think he's going to come in a little bit lower owned than those guys. So I like him for that reason. It's just, I don't mind taking that. Like, if people are going to be scared off of Lattimore, like I think Evans has had success. Well, he hasn't had success versus Lattimore, but I've watched those 2 games, and I think that they can put him in a position where he can be successful versus Lattimore. So I don't hate going in that direction.
Yeah, I think
people are going to be scared off because of the numbers.
I think, in like the big $11 tournament, you'll see Evans ownership higher in that than you would see in like the 180 or higher stakes, just because I don't think the masses are really super care about the cornerback wide receiver matchup would be my guess. Yeah, quickly, we got 5 more minutes to discuss this one. Looks like Ronald Jones is going to play. Have we got any word on what the snap share or workload might be, or who's even going to start between Fournette and Jones?
I haven't seen anything.
Fournette, right?
Fournette. I saw earlier, like if Ronald Jones plays Fournette, we'll get the first crack, but it just sounded so much uncertainty to me where I don't think you touch the spot. There's too many unknowns.
Yeah, I do think Keyshawn Vaughn is out, so I think it will just be the 2 backs. So they should get some work. I mean, these are 2 tough run defenses. You got to keep that in mind as well.
Exactly.
I actually think this game's going to go under that 52 total personally. I'm hoping so because I was all in on the Chiefs and Browns game. Yeah, Gronkowski, I think, is an interesting play. He's relatively cheap. He was super cheap on the 2-gamer at 3,500. I like him a little bit. I don't know. I don't have anything super strong in this game. The Bucs are hard, right? They just have so many different directions you can go. Cameron Brate, I think, is in play down at like 2K. Yeah, a number of directions. Just make sure your team kind of makes sense overall, I would say, is kind of obviously one of the big keys to Showdown. Yeah, title, final thoughts on Bucs Saints, and then I'll throw it to you, Bobby, and we'll go into NBA as this game kicks off.
Yeah, I like the passing game for the Bucs more than I like the running game. I like Kamara, Michael Thomas, just like the studs. I'm with you. I think the unders, I like the under in this game as well. 2 better defenses, 2 quarterbacks that are past their prime. I still do think that pressure will get to them if they're both under pressure, both 2 good pass rushes. So with you on the under, and that means I like the field goal kickers in a dome. Both have good legs, can kick over 50 yards. So I think one of them definitely can make the optimal. So I'd be overweight on them.
Yeah, no problem with that. Bobby, final thoughts here?
Yeah, for me, I think like taking a shot on Traequan, where everyone I think will go Deontay Harris, I think is an interesting play in Showdown. You have to differentiate Breeze. I think I like the under, but I like the Saints passing attack also.
Yeah, I like Breeze over Brady here, especially with Taysom Hill and Latavius Murray out. I think it's going to be a pretty heavy, a volume-heavy passing attack from the Saints is my guess. A lot of that I would assume would go to Kamara, so I'm not saying to fade him by any means. All right, that'll do it for Saints and Bucs. Should be an entertaining one. Hopefully giving you guys some pointers on roster construction. I'm with Title. I think the kickers both in play, and maybe even the defenses here. I wouldn't be surprised to see some sacks under pressure, and then obviously – I think heavy pass attempts or large volume of pass attempts from both quarterbacks could lead to opportunities for big plays from the defense. Yeah, let's go over to the NBA. I'm sure most people kind of focused on the NFL today, but we do have what is now a 3-game slate. It was a 4-game slate to kick off the day, but the Sixers and OKC game has been postponed. Looks like contact tracing on the Sixer side, who are already missing guys. So that game's not going to happen. And that does push the slate back another hour as well. So this slate doesn't start for an hour and 22 minutes at this point. So still a bunch of news that we're waiting on. But, we'll do our best. The first game of the night will be Utah and Denver. Not a ton of news in this one. Joe Ingles is going to miss. Michael Porter, they've been out a couple games each. Of course, I've been riding the Jokic train. He's been phenomenal. Tough matchup here, though, against Rudy Gobert. One of the toughest matchups, I think, for Nikola Jokic. He can still get it done, but it won't be quite as easy as it typically is. Title, what are you seeing between Utah and Denver this game? Just looking at the line, I'm sure it's, I guess not super low. 220 line here. Jazz favored by 1.5, so it is expected to be relatively close.
Yeah, this game is just, I definitely didn't have interest in it really before the postponement.
Yeah.
So now we're down to 3 games. Now we're forced a little bit. The guys that stand out, Clarkson and Bogdanovich, stand out on FanDuel. 5,200 for Clarkson, 4,300 for Bogdanovich. 2 guys that are just cheap, offer a little bit of value, are getting good minutes. Clarkson's a good player, good usage off the bench, has a ceiling. So don't mind that at all. DraftKings guys are more affordable, so it's tougher over there. Jokic is always in play. He's always in play on both sites, but I like his price a little more on DraftKings where he's 11-2. And then JaMychal Green, if you need it on DraftKings, offers some value. His minutes they've been all right. He's 4,400, 28 minutes last game, 22 the game before, but it's just a 3-game slate with bad value. So he's going to be on the floor and he can get there, get 20 for you, and then it won't kill you for value. So open stuff up, but not a game I love for sure.
This is one of those slates, and obviously the shorter slates typically you see this where if you can you project 5 or 6x times salary, you kind of have to take it, right? Like I don't think I don't think
you're not getting a 400
with like 8 flame emojis in their app.
Yeah, you're not getting a 400 score. Like everyone's saying, like 450 castle or whatever it is. Today is going to be a 225. Or
exactly. You can get you get like 50 points out of your stud, and that's probably going to be enough on a slate like this. Bobby, thoughts on Utah and Denver?
Yeah, so for me, I think the Jazz, obviously they've been really high in terms of defensive efficiency. They're like 4th in the league. In that scenario, I think Jamal Murray is probably going to be overlooked on both sides, especially with Jokic getting that Gobert defense. I don't mind going to Jamal Murray on a 3-game slate. I think it's kind of contrarian. DraftKings, Clarkson 6-3. I think he's going to be pretty chalky. So I don't mind going to like Mike Conley. He's like 900 more or 1,000 more or whatever. So 800 more. So I think that could be a way he could go as well. And that would probably be it for me from the Jazz.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'll probably end up fading Jokic here just because of the tough matchup, and he's expensive and the value is not super good. I could see potentially going with a more balanced lineup, but well, obviously sort of depend on what kind of news we got. Gobert himself, a little bit interesting. I think he's had some success against Denver in the past, but kind of priced up a little bit, 7,900 on DraftKings. We'll keep it moving to the next game of the night, the second of 3, New Orleans and Sacramento. This game does feature a 226.5 total, the highest on the night. New Orleans 2.5-point favorites. In terms of news and notes, not a lot. We do know Lonzo Ball going to miss this game for the Pelicans. He's been out a while. We've seen Alexander Walker perform pretty well with him out. And then Hassan Whiteside and Marvin Bagley are both questionable. If both guys miss, you would certainly think that a guy like Rashawn Holmes could certainly come into some more minutes, and they can be a little bit questionable at times, but he's a very strong point per minute type player. Problem is Pelicans play decent defense. They kind of pack the paint. They force you to shoot threes. So he's not exactly the type of player I would typically target against the Pelicans. Title, what are you seeing between the Pelicans and the Kings here?
So this is my favorite game on the very short 3-game slate, but got to have a game that stands out. This one for sure. I like the prices more on FanDuel than I do DraftKings. Josh Hart, Eric Bledsoe, Zion Williamson. Those are my favorite Pelicans. I think they're all too cheap. You can even throw Brandon Ingram and Steven Adams on FanDuel too. 5,800 at the center position, 8,500. That just feels too cheap for these Pelicans without Lonzo. Great matchup against Sacramento up and down the court. So I like them. And then I like them on DraftKings too. Nickeil Alexander Walker stands out more on DraftKings than FanDuel. That's the one player that I like more over there. 4,900. He got the start last game. The guy's a good basketball player for sure. He's confident. He's shooting on with this team. So even if he doesn't get the start and they go back and change up the starters, he's coming off the second unit then with more usage to go around. So I wouldn't even mind if he's not, but he started last game, so I expect it. Ingram, Williamson, Josh Hart, all in play on DraftKings as well. And then going to the Sacramento side, Buddy Hield, Harrison Barnes, and Fox are my favorites. I like those guards. I just think, Bagley questionable too. So they have a hidden ceiling with a good floor already because they're already playing a lot of minutes anyway. So I like that. FanDuel or DraftKings, it's a little tougher. Holmes is like 6,700. Fox is 7,900. Barnes is all the way up at 6,600 on DraftKings. I don't want to play that. So the one DraftKings play I'm fine with on Sacramento is if we do get confirmation that Bagley is playing, I think he becomes very low owned, and I don't mind his price over there at 5,400. He has upside. They're going to need a size against Steven Adams and Zion. So that makes for a great tournament play if he is ruled in.
Yeah, I like those calls. I'll throw it to you, Bobby, in here a second, but I do want to remind everybody, please like and subscribe the video. And if you're interested in more of our content at runpuresports.com, we do have a promo code right now, Workbench21 will get you 25% off your first payment. And I believe you can do a 1 week sort of trial period at the moment where you'll get everything on the site, betting, all sports. There's a ton of good stuff going on right now with NBA in full swing. We've got another big playoff slate next week. MMA is back, golf, all that good stuff. So Workbench21 will get you 25% off your first payment. All right, Bobby, what are your thoughts on the Pelicans and the Kings here?
Yeah, so Title did a really good job of pretty much covering all of that. Neil Alexander Walker would probably be my favorite DraftKings play. I think he sees the biggest usage bump with ball out. If he's starting, even if he's coming off the bench, I still think he's a good play. On DraftKings, I think I prefer Ingram to Zion, where on FanDuel, I think I prefer Zion to Ingram. I just think that Zion fits like more of the scoring on FanDuel, where Ingram is a better GPP play for me on DraftKings. That would pretty much be like Title pretty hit on like everything. So that would be the two plays I think that I'm most interested in from this game. That's pretty much it for me.
Yeah, not a ton more to add there. Like you said, the Kings are just tough. I think it's the Pelican side that you really want to target on this one. Just better value, I think, point per dollar wise on the Pelicans over the Kings. Last game of the night, then we'll get back to watching some football. The Pacers and the Clippers. Pacers obviously dealing with some stuff. They traded Victor Oladipo in a trade that netted them Caris LeVert, who's going to be out indefinitely with a scary I think a mass on his kidney, I believe. Anyway, he won't be playing here, which does, open things up for some of the other Pacers, specifically Sabonis and Brogdon. A lot of the offense is going to run through them. Opens up some minutes for the holidays. Not the best matchup going against the Clippers, but there is a 220 total here. Clippers pretty big favorites, 8.5 point favorites in this one. We know most of the news here. The big one, Miles Turner, is also going to miss. So you're going to see Sabonis basically play as many minutes as he can handle. Wouldn't be shocked to see him surpass 40. He'll get some more time at the 5 in this game, I believe. And then we are waiting on Lou Williams, who's questionable for the Clippers. Could potentially mean more minutes for guys like Beverly, and then just more usage to go around in general. Title, what do you see here?
Yeah, so this game is probably the best game for value on DraftKings. I think it's the best game actually price-wise, value-wise, point per dollar wise on DraftKings in general. Like right away, what stands out is Sumner at 3,200 on DraftKings. He's actually another good player too, a long, lengthy guy, gets to the rim, can shoot the ball a little bit. So he's way too cheap at 3,200 on this slate. You mentioned Miles Turner out. Sabonis has just absolutely been crushing it this year, playing as many minutes as possible. I like his price tag. I know 9,800 feels expensive on DraftKings, 9,600 on FanDuel, but I think that's still too cheap for him. I don't think you can get all the way up to Jokic with not as much value on the slate. He'd be my preferred spend up.
I really like Sabonis here. I think you kind of worry about the Clippers perimeter defense, right? Kawhi, Paul George, even Beverly, all good perimeter defenders, but maybe they stick Kawhi and Sabonis, but Sabonis can win that, right? He's not the type of player that Kawhi is typically used to defending. And then I'm not really scared of the Clippers bigs in general either. So yeah, I do like this matchup for Sabonis quite a bit.
Yeah, I don't even think Kawhi is going to want to guard him either on a switch, maybe down on a switch down there. But I mean, you got to grind and work hard against Sabonis. So yeah, I like Sabonis. Marcus Morris on DraftKings. He's only 4,000. He's getting back. He's playing a little more. Last game he saw 21 minutes, 20 minutes the game before. So 25 the game before that. So his minutes are coming up a little bit. He's about a point per minute guy. So he can chuck. He gets hot. He'll keep shooting over and over. So that makes sense. Dougie McDermott. I like him more on FanDuel. He's 3,800. Still on DraftKings though, 4,300. He's just a sharpshooter. He fits DraftKings scoring well. So I like him. And then Paul George and Kawhi, they're just going to play a lot of minutes. Paul George on FanDuel sticks out a little more, 8,700 at not too good of a shooting guard position. But those guys are just going to have stable minutes on a slate that you need guys to just take raw points and move on with. So those guys are definitely fine doing that with.
Yeah, especially depending on, you got to spend somewhere. I think passing on Jokic and just taking a little bit of savings with guys like Sabonis,
I'm with you.
Paul George, Kawhi, kind of going a little bit more of a balanced roster is probably the route I'm going to take. Bobby, I'll throw it to you. Final thoughts on Indiana and the Clippers, and we'll get out of here for the night.
Yeah, Clippers all year just can't cover big. So Sabonis right away, he's like the easy plug-in for me. Like McDermott as well, fits like basically title said, fits DK scoring. Sumner is another guy that he hit on at the top of it. Like they're just using Sumner a lot more now with basically Oladipo out of the picture. So I don't mind Sumner as well at 3-2 on DK. Malcolm Brogdon's kind of priced up on DraftKings. Like, I don't know if I want to go there at 8,700. Interesting thing about this slate is like all the games are tight spreads. So maybe if you want to get different in GPPs, you could go to Brogdon, but I think I'd prefer Murray. Obviously, the no defense is going to be played in that Sacramento New Orleans game. So De'Aaron Fox, Fox and Hield, yeah, pretty much those guys with guards I'd prefer over Brogdon. But yeah, that's pretty much it from the Indiana side. And on the Clippers, like Paul George, Kawhi would be where I'd be looking.
Yeah, it makes sense. I'm with you guys on the Sumner call. He looks pretty good to me. I think he's going to continue to get more minutes, especially with Oladipo out of the picture. It just seems like a player that could be on the rise. And with you too, Bobby, clearly Sabonis over Brogdon if you're picking between the two. I don't mind playing both. I just think most of the offense is going to run through those two guys. But specifically in this matchup where the Clippers have such good perimeter defenders, I think Sabonis is a guy you should prioritize. And kind of my top, I wouldn't be surprised to see Sabonis in this slate as the top scoring overall player. So certainly I certainly believe he should be a priority for all of us. All right. I don't think we've gotten any more news, not surprisingly, given that the slate doesn't start for over an hour yet. Any final thoughts on the slate overall title?
Yeah, so I think I don't think it's a stars and scrubs day. There's not enough value. The guys that stand out, like I said, Sumner. I'm with you on Sabonis. He seems like the top play of the slate, especially on DraftKings. Just 9,800, you get the nice price decrease. The only news we're really looking at is Lou Williams and Marvin Bagley. I think the Bagley news is definitely really interesting because if he's out, there's a lot of ways they can go with that team. They could slide Glenn Robinson in there. They could go smaller and slide Tyrese Halliburton in the starting lineup. Mm-hmm. If he's out, I'm going to be on the Kings either way, because if he's in, I want Marvin Bagley in tournaments because he's going to be super low owned and I like his price on DraftKings.
Gotcha.
If he's ruled out, the Kings are going to be, there's going to be more plays. I'm going to want to go to the Tyrese Halliburtons, that route, because they're going to be low owned in good spots too. So that's my big stand on this slate is Sabonis is my favorite spend up. Sumner is my favorite value. And then I'm just going to use this Kings news of Bagley and either play him or just play a lot more of those guys.
Sounds like you might be kind of fading the first game a little bit and hoping some value opens up late, and then you can kind of swap around from there if need be, if things don't break your way in terms of the injury news with Bagley and Whiteside. Bobby, final thoughts here? Yeah,
just pretty much thinking over the slate, like Bagley's the most important news. They're going to need Bagley to deal with Zion, deal with Ingram. If he's out, then it opens up usage for Hield, Halliburton, De'Aaron Fox. Not a ton of defense can be played in this game. 230 total. Like, you should be attacking this Kings-Pelicans game. I don't know why you'd look anywhere else in terms of like trying to get guys to get different. The only issue is like that Bagley news is so important. You just need that Bagley news. So I would just pretty much backload like we kind of been doing all NBA season and wait on it and see where the usage goes and load up on Kings or load up on Bagley.
Yep. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Just make sure you have kind of available swap options and some general planned out, because we don't know. I think it, seems like almost kind of a true 50-50 situation for me. That will do it for this show. Thanks for tuning in. As always, guys, hit that like and subscribe button. Helps us be able here at Run Pure Sports to continue to bring free shows 7 days a week, every day for NBA. And then we've got, of course, a premium show for subscribers leading up to lock, breaking down all the news. Kind of the most important hour of the of NBA DFS is that first hour, or that last hour rather, before lock. And again, if you want to sign up for our stuff, promo code Workbench21 gets you 25% off first payment. We do have an option, $15 just for 1 week. If you don't like us, I think you will. If you don't, you can always cancel. But hopefully we'll keep you on board and keep crushing it, because our NBA premium stuff has been doing awesome this season, partly thanks to you two, hopefully some thanks to me, and of course, all the other guys at runpuresports.com. That'll do it for us. We'll see you next time. Thanks for tuning in as always.
Good luck, everybody.
Good luck, guys.